In the next 3 slides, I'm going to talk about the visual aesthetic aspects of using type. Maintain strong contrasts for readability. The example shown here is an extreme example. Use contrasting font relationships on pages. That means combining different typeface categories like serif and sans serif. The saying among designers is that if 2 things are different, make them really different. Serif and sans serif achieve that effect. This can be overdone, however. Don't use conflicting font relationships like a script font and a normal font. Here's an example of contrasting font relationships. We're using serif for headings and sans serif for subheadings and body copy. This serif versus sans serif theme is a very common way to establish a contrasting font relationship. The text you see here is dummy text called lorem ipsum. It's Latin text that is used to give graphic artists an idea of what their layout will look like with text in it, without needing to have the final real text to fill in. Don't pair 2 concordant fonts from the same category, like 2 sans serif fonts, on the same page. It can look unintentional or confusing. Limit yourself to 2 typefaces per page. It keeps the design clean and cohesive. Apply type styles and formats consistently. Headings, body text, captions, etc. should follow defined style rules. Don't crowd text inside a box. Let it breathe. Use plenty of white space. Here's an example of appropriate use of white space, used here between the bullet points. Don't camouflage text. Camouflaging results from not having a strong enough background for the text. Here are some ways to avoid it. Use dark text on a light background for both screen and print. This beats light text on a dark background and is the most readable. Here's an example of the different uses of dark on light versus light on dark text. As the note at the bottom says, dark on light is used for explanatory body text. Light on dark is for captions only. This has to do with eye strain. Note that when you're printing something displayed in a browser, sometimes the text cannot be seen. The browser will strip out the dark background and the white text can't be seen when printed. White on black may work okay on screen in some cases, but looks awkward and can't be seen very well when printed. There's something called perceptual bleeding from background to text. That's a thing that your brain does which results in blurring things into each other. It makes the text hard to read. We discussed earlier that you should not use slanted baselines for text. If you use type that has a slanted character orientation like that shown here, that's okay if used sparingly, but don't fill the corners with it. Limit line widths by using columns and fixed width tables. The reason why things are published in columns both on the web and in books is that it's easier to read something where your eye is only scanning text a short distance to the end of a column and then going back to the beginning of the next line, versus going a long way over to the right side of the whole page and then jumping all the way back. The ideal line length for a column is 50 to 75 characters per line. Here's an illustration of using columns and tables to limit the line width, to make it easier to read. It's obvious that columns are easier to read than lines of text spanning the entire width of the page. And fixed width tables are also easier to read even though lines break up the text. You can see how valuable lorem ipsum dummy text is here in the columns. It gives you, the graphic artist, a concrete idea of what your layout will look like before actually having the real text to fill it in. Use CSS, not HTML, to control type parameters. Again, CSS is a rather technical subject that we don't have the space to cover. You don't need to worry about this unless you're dealing with web page hand coding. It's recommended that you use the following to maximize legibility. a solid black or dark overlay bar, a blurred background shape under the text, drop shadows behind the text, semi-transparent overlays, or a high contrast outline around the text. Notice how the first part of the text is still not very legible over the light background. So this would not be a very good option for this situation. A different color type might help. Finally, a blurred ghost copy of the text behind the original. Again, this is not a good option because there's not enough contrast. As in the last example, a different color type might help.